Okay, so welcome everyone. I guess we can start. I was just giving a minute for everyone to get into the virtual room. Welcome to the Department of International Development Open Day, virtual day. My name is Tiziana Leone. I'm the Deputy Head of Department for Teaching. What we're going to do now is we are briefly going to introduce ourselves here from the panelist perspective. Then I'm going to hand over to the head of department, who's going to give you a brief introduction of the department. I will go back and describe briefly the degrees and their characteristics, and then we're going to give plenty of time for Q&A. So if I go in kind of my order on the screen, and I move on to Deepa.
Hi everyone. My name is Deepa Patel, and I manage the communications and events for the department.
Thank you, Deepa. And Deepa will be answering a lot of your questions in the background in the Q&A. And by the way, this session, I forgot to say, this session is being recorded and will be available, as well as you can post all your questions throughout the talk, so you don't have to wait until the end through the Q&A function. So I move on to Farzana.
Hi everyone, my name is Farzana Ibrahim. I was on the MSc Development Management program, and I'm a Shibling scholar from Kenya. Thank you.
Thank you, Farzana. Sophia.
Hi everyone, I'm Sophia from Portugal, and I was doing the International Development and Humanitarian Emergencies program last year.
Thanks. Edgar.
Hi everyone, my name is Edgar Wera, originally from Tanzania, and I was also in the Development Management program, specializing in Applied Development Economics. Nice to meet you.
Brilliant, and thank you so much for the three of you for coming and talk about your experience. So they will be on hand for any of your questions related to the student experience. And I hand over to Tim.
Hi everyone, my name is Tim Forsyth. I'm the head of department. I'm just going to say a few words just to welcome you for coming today, and to hope very much that you will show interest in our department. The good thing about the LSE and international development at the LSE is that we are not just one of the best departments to study international development, but we have excellent connections to the social sciences in general. That's how we do development at the LSE, that we are part of the wider LSE, where people study economics, politics, anthropology, sociology, or whatever else, but we use them together. And so you're not just learning about development, but you're also learning about the social sciences at the same time. The other thing is that we have an incredibly vibrant and international body of people doing this work and also teaching it. We also find that being in London is a great draw for people, because it's such an international city, such a draw, so many things to do. It's quite a great place to be. But also, when people do their degree and then apply for jobs, they find that actually having a degree from the LSE is very important for getting the next job. So in brief, that's the reasons why you should come to the LSE, but we very much hope that you'll learn a lot more today. And please put some questions in the chat and we will try and answer them. Thank you.
Thanks, Tim. So I'm going to share a few slides, and I promise I will be brief. I hope you can see the full slides. Can you confirm if the full slides are on and not the... Okay, excellent. On the degrees, mainly on the degrees which are available in the department. As Tim said, we are very much a social science department, and that's the main thing about being at the LSE. And also we are a very interdisciplinary department, and that is reflected in the kind of wide range of degrees that we offer. So you probably have already looked at the website of our graduate offer. We currently have 5 master's degree plus the joint degrees, but today I'm only going to focus on the main degrees. If you want information on the joint degrees, you need to refer back to the host departments, which is not us. So we have 1 degree in development studies, 1 in development management with 2 streams, economic policy for international development, health and international development, and international development and humanitarian emergencies. This reflects very much the range of teaching and research that is done in the department. And when I'm showing you each program, I also show you the key team that is behind each program, bearing in mind that our department is kind of cross-cutting. So there are lots of people that work across degrees and teach across degrees, but also that whose interest in research are cross-cutting across themes. So starting with alphabetically with the development management degree, we have 2 themes starting from next year. So anyone applying this year for next year will have to choose between either of these. The first one is the MSc in Development Management with Applied Economics. This gives you a theory and practical tools to understand some societies and how some societies have failed, some societies have succeeded. And then at the foreground of this is that you will be doing applied development economics courses with a very strong focus on development economic policy. Both of these streams will have the core course on development management and the consultancy project. So that's the main feature of development management. The political economy, instead, is a bit more theoretical, and this looks more at the transformation and also on the political determinants of economic development in the optional courses. So while they have the core course is the same for both streams, so the first unit, then you kind of split up one more kind of quantitative and applied, the other one more on the political economy. So these are the 2 streams. This is the core team that works on development management, and you have quite a range of disciplinary and courses that are being offered by this team. And this is something that you can look more in detail in the course offerings on the website. The second one is the MSc in Development Studies. This provides you the academic training for development studies. It's the pure development studies using theory in the social sciences to understand the processes, policy and practice of development. This is looking through an interdisciplinary lens to understand the problems and possibilities facing societies. And the program fosters critical thinking and engagement with perspectives of southern as well as northern scholars, generating more grounded policy thinking. This is the key core team with the program directors and then the administrator and the key staff on this degree. Again, as I said, lots of staff teaches across, but this is probably the people that you will find mentoring you in this degree. The third one is the MSc in International Development. So I think you can already see that there are themes within development that are developed in the department. And this looks at the key issues and interrelationship between public health, global politics, and international development. Its core, this is looking at health through the lens of development. The experience and the knowledge that you acquired in this degree will enable you to understand how health, poverty, and inequality interact. And in the critical perspective, encourage interrogation of taken for granted principles and practices, mainly in terms of concept behind global health in the approach to key public health and international health concepts. I'm actually one of this team. Actually, this is one of the places where you're most likely to see me because I teach in a few health courses as well as the rest of the team. Fourth, the MSc in Economic Policy and International Development. This is aimed at those interested in applied development economics and political economy as a rigorous postgraduate qualification. This is probably the most quantitative of our degrees, and it is multidisciplinary, but it looks very much on applying economic policy evaluation to development. This is seen also as a program, as a stepping stone into professional worlds of development economics, fiscal and social policy making, as well as international business consulting. And this is the key team in this group. Plus, we're going to have actually one more person next year as we are recruiting more on this team. Lastly, but not less important, the MSc in International Development, Humanitarian Emergencies. This is another theme-led degree. This provides students with an understanding in dynamics and humanitarian and complex emergencies, as well as providing a solid foundation in development issues such as poverty reduction, wealth creation, and expansion of human capabilities. And this is the core team that is linked to this degree. To sum up, I think that this is kind of not doing full justice. I mean, in terms of how much time we've got to speak about this. I hope that you will have time, or you would have had time, to look more in detail into the courses, and you can ask questions. But the key question of why do development studies versus IDHE or versus health or versus development management is really down to what drives your interest. What do you think that is going to take more of your attention? Another thing that I wanted to highlight is that we have specialisms. So we allow for certain degrees, and so far is only DM for the political economy stream, DS, which is the development studies, and health and international development students. They can choose to concentrate their electives, so their options, which they're free to take on a certain topic area. This is very much reflected by the type of research that we do at in the department, which is either African development, advanced economics, or population studies. You don't have to do it. It's just down to whether you're interested in it. It's something that you don't have to choose in advance. You just pick it when you do your course choice in September. But for each of these, there are conditions. You have to specifically look at certain courses to take. And for African development and population studies, you also need to do a dissertation, which is related to that topic. And again, more information of this on the website. So I think I will stop at that. I don't know whether the team wants to add anything else. I'm going to stop sharing so that we can see faces, because I want to give plenty of time to the questions. Team, do you want to add anything else?
No, not at all. Just to say that we have lots of wonderful products, and please ask some questions. So maybe I should hand it over to the other people. So that means
so I'm going to look at the questions now. So the first question is it worth applying for both streams of MSc Development Management, or can you apply to one and switch if you're accepting the program? As far as I know, you only apply to one stream as your first choice, and I wouldn't recommend the strategy of switching because there's going to be limited spaces on either of the streams. So I think apply to the one you want the most. Basically, that's my suggestion. And please do follow up, Tim. Would you say that's the case? Just apply to the one you want.
yes.
Because I mean, the switch is not guaranteed once you arrive, because it might be that one stream or the other might be completely full up. And it's the same like once you arrive, we can't even guarantee that you can switch from one degree to another in case you change your mind. So I would always ask in advance. The second question, could you inform us on MSc students consultation time with thesis supervisor. Typically, how often do a student supervisor meet per week, month? Okay, as many times as you want. I mean, every mentor has office hours, and on top of that, there is an open door policy across the department. So that's why I said you're not confined to the people that are related to the team of your degree. And it depends very much on how much time you need for your dissertation. There are some students that we don't see for months and then come all of a sudden. But we actually have a course which is DV 410, which is basically for 4 out of the 5 degrees. EPID, the economic policy ID, as its own course, where we set a clear timetable starting from October, working on the dissertation. So there is a series of lectures, seminars, tutoring sessions across the year, where then it also kind of puts you in the right stead to interact with your supervisor to work on the dissertation. So that's something that we start very early on, because we think that by Christmas you should have already started getting into the topic. Well, not getting into the topic, start to think about the topic that you would like to do. So there isn't a typical, but it depends very much on how much you want to discuss this with your supervisor. It was mentioned earlier that the advanced degree would be particularly helpful in looking at employment after completion. Question if it's possible, or how common is this typically for non-international students to stay and gain employment after obtaining the degree? Okay, this is very much down to visa regulations as well. I don't know whether the alumni would like to answer in terms of experience of you also connecting to other students. I mean, there is the visa program where you can apply for an extension. Deepa, correct me whether it's 1 or 2 years now. I think Deepa is linked. Sophia, do you want to speak?
Yeah, so I think for the visa, so I am on a pre-settled status, so I'm not sure about this, but I believe that you get 2 years after your
2 years, yes, it's true, 2 years.
I believe it's 2 years.
So you do get a chance to apply. You have to apply in advance to get that 2 years visa, but then you can apply for jobs. We have career events throughout the year, which are aimed at international students, and we are trying to improve that program in terms of given the feedback of past students as well. The other great thing about the LSE is the LSE career office, because you can actually get even one-to-one sessions. Sophia, did you manage to interact with the career LSE career?
Yeah.
Maybe this is
Yeah,
you
quite
want
a lot.
to-
I mean, I've used LSE Careers just to get broadly advice on looking for a job, so job strategy, also for reviewing the CV, reviewing cover letters. I've even done a practice interview, which did get me an internship, so I think that was quite good. So you really do have a really broad, a wide array of services from LSE Careers, and it's been truly useful for me at least.
Yeah, and as far as I know, you can actually use it as an alumni as well. So you can actually go back, because it takes time. It takes time to look for jobs. I mean, the LSE, I think, has got one of the highest percentage of universities where you can find the job within 6 months of graduation, obviously with all the variations. But otherwise, I mean, in terms of career support, it's quite amazing. By the way, I only put that sentence for that degree, but I think overall, across all degrees, probably the international organizations, NGOs, consultancy, this is probably the most likely path for most degrees, with some variations. Yes, and Deepa just put the link in the chat for you in terms of career paths as well. I'm also curious about part-time work during studies. Would any students speak on part-time work during studies in life in London? Farzana, I don't know, and Sophia, did you do any part-time work while you were studying?
I didn't. I did a few stints here and there, but it's possible to do part-time work, and as much as the degree is very intense, LSE recommends 15 hours, and visa regulations are capped at 20 hours a week. So that's the maximum you can work. I think for my colleagues who did work, they also did get opportunities within LSE as well to work as research assistants with professors and the different institutes, as well as just within the LSE admin. So yes, it's possible to do part-time work based on visa regulation.
Cool. Yes, and I mean, and we also have part-time students as well, and that's another thing that one can do. We've got quite a few, because we know that some people come and go at different types of their career. Again, this is something that one can discuss. There are opportunities for internships or part-time jobs that one can see either through LinkedIn or the LSE career. Could you clarify how 3 specialisms fit with the DM program already being offered as a specialism? The DM program is streams, so it's a much more hardcore approach to it. You're kind of channeled, and you only have half a unit to choose from, which is still within the DM package. And the other ones are just a training of 3 courses that are taken up with the specialism. So it's a different level of specialism. The DM is basically a stream. That's the main thing. And also, actually, DMP, I should have said, they can't take the economic specialism, because otherwise you would be in the DM advanced economics. Okay, so next, is there an opportunity for IDHE students to take internship programs during their studies? There is an opportunity for anyone to take internships during their studies. We always encourage students to keep their eyes. We post any opportunities that are coming up through Moodle or through groups on LinkedIn. But again, Sophia, do you want to say did you come across any internships opportunities?
I know that some people have done the what was it called, the Parliament one. So
Yes.
yeah, so you have this opportunity. I don't know exactly how it works, but I'm sure you can find that on the LSE website, and you're gonna get an email about this as well when you start. But some people were what I believe was some sort of assistant in
Parliamentary, yeah.
yeah.
That was I can't remember the name. But
In
yeah,
the-
there are quite a few opportunities. I know that IOM, for example, gives opportunity for internships, and I think they're going to be paid. And this is something that is in international organizations. We're trying to discuss more about this. But yes, there are opportunities. So I'm passionate to, no, wait, let me go back, because things kind of slide down. Are the consultancy projects from the MSc Development Management and International Development and Humanitarian Emergencies the same? No. There is a clear distinction, because, I mean, actually, there are 3 courses that have consultancies. DM, IDHE, and HID. They all have their own course. So the lectures are separate. The clients are separate. The nature of the clients as well is different. So DM would have more kind of general, IDHE would have more into the humanitarian emergencies, and HID has more into health. So you can also look at the website with the experience on consultancies. But no, otherwise, students can only choose from their own consultancy course. So each degree has their own code as well. For example, HID has DV453, IDHE is 466, DM is 443. Is it acceptable to use one academic and one of professional letters of recommendations? If there were several years in the grad, we wouldn't need to indicate that we've chosen this. That's a very good question that we are asked often from people who might have left academia a few years ago. It is acceptable, as long as you have one academic at least. Look, it's not a requirement, but it always looks better on your application to have at least one academic reference. I would also recommend that the person from the non-academic worlds that you try and tell them to emphasize your research skills or your academic skills if there is any way of doing it. Do you offer PG Cert or PG Deeps for this faculty? No, we don't. We only have master's degree. We do a summer school. Team, we do short courses, executive courses.
Yes, we do some. Yes, yes.
But not PG Cert or PG Deeps.
Not
No.
really, no.
No. Okay. As someone who graduated in 2018 has since been working, is it okay to provide? Okay, this is basically the same. So yes, this is exactly the same. Yes, it is okay as long as at least one is academic. As you can see, team is answering that one. The ambassador EU scholarship gives a list of eligible countries, lists Congo, but does not precise which Congo. Okay. I think you need to speak for this to the finance office. Deepa, I don't know if you can put a link to this in the chat because we would not be able to answer that question.
Yeah, sure.
Sorry.
Yeah, I'll put a link in that.
Okay, great, thanks. I'm sorry that, but we wouldn't be able to answer that question. What are the major career pathways taken by non-UK students after the MSc in Development Economics, Development Management? The link is in the chat that Deepa has put. It's quite difficult to, I mean, the MSc in Economic Development has only existed for 1 year. So we've only got one cohort to really talk about. So there isn't enough to actually talk about that. But I think that is pretty much what you've got in the website, in the chat, is pretty much in line. Yeah, Farzana.
I wanted to share that two colleagues from the economic policy program, one is working with the UK government and one has joined Adam Smith International. So still in the development space. Yes.
Okay, brilliant, thank you.
Yes.
Are you able to share any info about the rough breakdown of the student cohorts for these programs between students entering MSc programs immediately after completing a bachelor's degree versus those having several years of professional experience? It's a very excellent question. I haven't actually looked into it. Tim, I was wondering whether you knew about it, or Deepa. I mean, my inkling is 70-30, but not quite sure.
70-30 means 70, what's the 70?
70 straight from the bachelor's. Actually, no,
Well,
probably less.
I think it's less than that. I mean, 10 years ago, it was most people had some years of experience. These days, I think it's more people come straight from their first degree. It's difficult to we don't really have hard statistics on that. The general rule is that it doesn't really matter. I think we'd find that people who have got experience know more, which is not surprising, but it's difficult to get experience if you don't have a master's, so you're sort of stuck. Either way, I think we find it helps to be a little bit older, simply just to live with the difficult routine of working hard and living in a different city. But it doesn't, you know, it's down to you as an individual, really. There's no hard answer. If you think you can do it.
And I mean, one thing that people often ask me, mainly in, for example, in things like IDHE or HEED, is that do you need to have experience before you start? Absolutely not. Actually, we find that all benefit from the variety And I'm always amazed at the type of backgrounds that people have when they come into the Department of International Development. I mean, I've taught people from philosophy, history, up to biochemistry. So you get really the extreme, and it's amazing. And I think actually quite exciting for students as well, because it's less boring, isn't it? I don't know what the student ambassadors think. Because you get a lot of different backgrounds. I mean, for example, for health, we get a lot of people, well, a few intercalating medical students, which keep me on my toes every time I talk about biological stuff. Or yes, IDHE, you might get people straight after the BCSC, or people who have experience in the fields in Syria. And it doesn't really matter in terms of the backgrounds, because everything is taught at a level where everyone can reach this. The next question is, what are the placement outcomes for people on these programs, particularly interested in our graduates land in development related roles? I mean, I think that we've answered this. I mean, I don't know whether the placement is, you refer to the internships or the consultancies. I'm not quite sure about that, but otherwise, yes, I refer back to what we said before. For students who may not have a lot of economics experience in their undergraduate course, how difficult would it be to go on to pursue the DS MSc? As I said, I've lost that question now. As I said before, there is no background required whatsoever. Everything gets explained, and you're basically starting at the same time, and no, you don't require an economics background. So I'm passionate to work with the ICG, International Growth Center. Can we work with them after our graduation? Yeah, absolutely, by all means. They have also, we recommend that if you're interested in that topic, and that you sign up to their newsletter. They've got events, they've got blogs and things coming up. That's the other great thing about being at the LSE and in London, is that if anything, it is overwhelming the number of events and things happening in terms of how much you can actually do. It's a very quick, fast pace here, where you're going to struggle to find the time to do everything that you want to do. And would it be fair to say that probably one of the first reactions when you have course choice and things like that is too much choice and you like too many things? I don't know, I'm looking at the alumni here. I mean, usually the most common comment is, there is so much to do, but I haven't got time, or I can fit everything in my program. I can see you both nodding.
Yeah.
Sophia, did you manage to go to seminars and things?
Yeah, so I did, but there's definitely too much going on at the same time. You have the careers events, then you have a bunch of talks from different departments, from different student societies. Plus you have your classes and your reading, so there's really a lot, and you won't be able to go to everything, but there's so much to do.
Yeah. Okay, for someone interested in international development economics, does applied development economics pathway of BS makes the most sense, or within the economics department directly? If you're interested in development economics and you're interested in international development economics, I think it makes a lot of sense to be in our department, either doing the economic policy degree or the DM economic, depending on which path you want, whether you want more a purist or you want more on a development management, rather than the actual economics department, where there is less of a kind of international development perspective on it. And that's the main characteristic of this department, that we look at subjects like health, humanitarian emergencies, like economics or management through the lens of international development. Now, I know it's a bit confusing, but you need to really kind of be clear on, look at the website and see what development management economic stream versus economic policy and international development versus the specialism. Because while you are guaranteed the space for the development economics subjects, if you're either in DM or the economics degree, you wouldn't be guaranteed a space in the specialism. Okay, that depends on whether there is space for people that apply with. If it's something that you're particularly interested, what I would say is follow up with either the email that I put in the last slide, the dev inquiries email, or to get directly in contact with the program directors of the degree in terms of choosing among the different master's degree. But I would say that if you're interested in international development economics, this department will be more appropriate than the Department of Economics, because you're much more embedded in the international development agenda rather than being just one simple couple of courses on the side. I hope that makes sense. Do you offer any scholarship financial aid for international students? We don't ourselves directly. Well, I mean, it depends, because it depends on the degree. I think, Deepa, if you could put the financial scholarship website, but there are some specific scholarships which are available, like, for example, the Chevening or the World Bank for certain degrees. Health and International Development has 2 scholarships available. One is the Population Investigation Committee scholarship, which we manage to get every year, it seems. And plus we have a Wellcome Trust scholarship. Otherwise, it goes centrally through the school. And in general, I think that we're quite successful at getting scholarships. But there is more information for specific courses on the single website for each programs. So you can follow also the link that Deepa has put in the chat. Are there any scholarships? Okay, so basically, I've basically answered that. This is the same. What skills does an ideal candidate demonstrate in their application? Well, mainly to have a degree to the standards of required in terms of the level of the mark, the general mark that that's the first kind of threshold. The other one is to show a genuine interest and passion in the subject. I think that's the main thing. Try to keep your statement very much on point. I know sometimes it's very easy to get quite derailed with personal interest. And also do your homework. Look at the people that teach in that department. See what their research is and what are the matches with your own interest. So I would say that it's not a question of skills, it's a question of interest in the subject. What is the key thing that you look for in a strong personal statement? I think that's probably what I said. If English is not your first language, I would definitely recommend, I don't know what you're coming from in your undergraduate studies, but I would definitely recommend going through some editing in your university or trying to get an English speaker to look at it. Depending on which country you're from, if you're probably from a Latin-speaking country, one thing that we tend to do is to write humongous sentences that last forever. One thought, one sentence. And it's always better to be abundant on punctuation. The other thing I recommend is to have clear paragraphs and to have key concepts that you can kind of summarize in 3, 4, 5 points maximum. That's the thing, is that we don't read ourselves the statements. It's centralized to the school, but we have an amazing person that knows very well the background of the department and goes through all of this. So the main thing is to be clear, to the point, and to show a real interest and that you've done your own the homework. Can you please tell us about the consultancy projects and what do they entail? Are they part of the course or are they projects with external organization companies? I'm going to give the floor to the alumni here, but just briefly. So as I said, 3 courses have their own consultancy project. these are mini research projects which are, the terms of reference are set up by real clients like Save the Children, OCHA, UN Statistics Division, Oxfam, PwC. They have a problem set related to development, which is a real thing that they need. And we place students according to preferences on one of these projects that they develop between October and March, and that they present, and on which they are assessed, but they also form part of a product that is presented to clients. And in most cases, these products are used in real life. So, I mean, like UNICEF published a project on menstrual hygiene a couple of years ago. I don't know whether Farzana and Sophia, you both have done briefly say something about that, Farzana.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The consultancy project is part of the required program for my DM MSc, and we had several organizations, and so you receive a list of terms of reference of what an organization wants students to deliver for them. And so we do it in groups of 3 to 5 people, and you get to choose based on what your interest area is. So we had organizations like the World Bank, UN Women. I worked on GIZ, on a sustainable green industrialization project, and it's real life work that they would have given to a consultant, but they're giving it to you. And what's amazing about the consultancy is the professors let you negotiate with the clients and discuss with them same way you would do if you were doing a consultancy project as an individual consultant outside. So it's you discussing what the deliverables are, discussing timelines, and then working on researching that, and then finally presenting. So it is like a real work experience. It is a real work experience for 6 months. Yeah.
Thank you, Farzana. Sophia, or do you want to answer maybe this one? They want to, one person asked, what was the most impactful class that you took?
That's a very difficult one. I mean, if we're talking about all the classes, I would say that the consultancy one was definitely the most impactful. The consultancy, I mean, as Farzana said, it's a real world project that you do for a client. I researched on, we had to find ways for humanitarian organizations to get better when answering to climate-based disasters. So we interviewed a bunch of NGOs, and we ended up writing a report that was published. So that was the most impactful class. I can't pick one out of the others. I think they were all pretty great. I took complex emergencies and forced migration were my favorites, if I may say, but yeah.
What about yourself, Farzana?
I'll say the core DM program was really impactful for me, especially second semester, because the topics were in such a way that we were discussing a specific issue in relation to development. So we did ICT in development, gender in development, community-based development, and all of the relevant specific things that people specialize in development. And so I feel like I can speak with authority about all of these things, and I think that was really amazing for me.
Oh, excellent, great. It's nice, and it's nice to see actually completely different type of topics and approaches in this. Thanks. How many people can you accept in each stream of DM? Tim, correct me if I'm wrong. Is it 45 and 45?
In those regions, I've answered questions already on those things. Yes, it's roughly in the 45 to 50% range.
Okay, cool. Are government's placement common for graduates in this program? For example, perhaps the Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office, apprenticeship during the studies, or full-time after graduation, asking for non-UK. So this goes back to what we said before. We can't guarantee them, but there are people that do this after their graduation. During the degree, you haven't got much time for an internship, to be honest with you, because it's quite intense in terms of level of studies. So you can do something really kind of but usually we suggest that you do it towards the summer term, when you haven't got lectures and seminars. So yeah, there are people that do these things, but mainly afterwards, because it's pretty full on during the year. And usually these kind of internships, they're not really something that you can do just a couple of hours a week. They do take on quite a lot of time. I'm trying to decide between the development studies program and international relations program. Development studies, of course. Could you highlight the key differences, as I noticed many of the classes offered in both programs overlap? Do they? I mean, the international relations is more, actually, I'm going to leave this to Tim because he knows more the two departments, but there is a clear distinction between the two departments.
Yes, I've already seen 2 questions on this. So international relations usually talks about states talking to each other, and it usually talks about foreign policy, and it talks about the negotiations in international organizations. So it tends to be much more stratospheric, and it talks about the sort of tensions between states. Now, international development, on the other hand, usually looks at the sub-state level, like, poverty on the ground, policy interventions inside the state. We can also look at how particular states have taken action. So there's this thing called the developmental state, which is how different states organize their development to grow within the global system. Now, there are obvious overlaps between IR and ID, but if you do IR, usually you're just talking about foreign policy, international organizations, and the relationships with states. Whereas ID, on the other hand, you're talking more about how countries can grow, how to get rid of poverty, how do you manage society more inclusively, those sorts of things.
And it's also moving, I mean, in ID, you have more of an opportunity to do kind of problem solving, problem-oriented type of courses. We actually have a growing mix of theoretical, empirical, and also even methodological courses. So these are some of the differences between the two departments. I mean, in terms of how many classes do we take per semester, this one, it varies between 1.5 units to 2.5. So it depends very much on the program, but we usually don't recommend more than 2.5, because you have 4 units in total for each of the courses. 1 unit is your dissertation, on which you work throughout, but really and truly you work in the summer, in the spring term, which is the May-June term, and then you take the other 3 during the semesters. So usually you do 1.5, maximum 2 to 2.5 units. So it will be the equivalent of between 3 to 5 courses in a term. And if you're doing a consultancy, the consultancy runs across 2 terms, even though it's a half unit, because it starts in October and finishes in March. So yeah, but this is something that you also set depending on the core courses as well. Like, for example, IDHE, HEED, DM, everyone has got their core course in the autumn term. Now, some programs have also got a second core this term as well. IDHE, HEED, and DM, they also have the second core course now. Okay, just to clarify, is the limit for the personal statement the word count or page count? Because I've seen both. This you will need to talk to the graduate admission office. This is unless Deepa or Tim knows the answer to this.
Sorry, what's the question?
The question is whether the personal statement is the word count or the page count.
I don't know.
No, I don't know either. I think you will be best to email the graduate admission office to cross-check. Can you describe what the academic looks like? Does the year end in June? No. So you start in week 0, which is your induction week. That's usually the 3rd week of September. That's when you get the induction to all the courses. You do your course choice, you meet your tutor, you get ready for the year. That's where we do the party and stuff like that. The treasure hunt. Then you start your courses in week 1, which is at the end of September. You have the first 5 weeks of teaching. There is 1 week of reading where you pause. And there are another 5 weeks. That's Christmas break, Christmas party. Then you have your exams. So you do your first session of exams in January. Then you start again the term, which is the winter term. Again, that's 5, reading week 5. And then in the summer term, you do the workshops, prepare for the dissertation, as well as your second session of exams. During the summer, you work on the dissertation, and the year ends at the end of August. So basically, that's when you submit your dissertation. All of these, I mean, by the way, we've been talking a lot about teaching, but there is a lot of social events as well. What we didn't say is about the Development Society, for example, that organizes lots of events. We have Cumberland Lodge trips, which I think Sophia and Farzana, have you both been on Cumberland Lodge? Which are themed around academic themed trips to the Windsor Lodge near London. There are also other events which are program led. I don't know, Sophia and Farzana, probably this is best if you talk about this, because I think this is actually the fun bit, which we haven't really mentioned.
Yeah, so Cumberland Lodge, we went for, it was a whole weekend. So a few of us from IDHE, we went there, and it's basically, well, one of the activities, for example, for a full day, we were building a refugee camp, which was really interesting. You had someone there, Mark Lowcock, who was kind of guiding us through it. You have teachers there as well, like professors guiding you through it, and giving you kind of like real life examples as well of things that happened in their experience, in their professional experience. So it's really, really interesting. I'm trying to remember what else we did, but I think the main thing, at least in IDHE, was that it was the refugee camp. Yeah. I don't know if Farzana had it.
Mine were more on I'd say more on the fun things that we had with the department, so to Oxford and Cambridge, and we also had the inter-program football challenge, DS1, that, yeah, and we had the treasure hunt at the beginning of the year, and like summer activities and picnics, and yeah, it's a fun activity besides the studies.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there were quite a few things. I mean, and then program specific, you do some kind of trips. I mean, I don't know. We took 1 year the students to look at an exhibition of the Wellcome Trust. So we try to interlink it with other activities as well. How many classes do we take per semester? I think that's what we said. You take between 3 to 4 units, so that's about 1 lecture and 4 seminars. So 4 lectures and 4 seminars. Is extensive undergraduate research experience an entry requirement? Looking at apply and DM? No, it isn't. The main thing is to have your marks to be at the level that is required and a good statement. Could you please elaborate on the strength of the gender equality component of the program, especially at the HE stream? Well, stream is program. Is the department interlinked with the gender department at the LSE? We do offer, well, there are options that you can take, which you are free to take in the department of gender, but I'm not quite sure in terms of the gender equality component of the program, what do you mean? So there is a gender component in basically all of the courses that we give. It's an intersectionality across courses, so you will find it in development studies, in health courses, in humanitarianism, managing humanitarianism. I know that there is at least 1 lecture related to gender. So it's definitely integrated, embedded into the program. I don't know whether you mean in terms of the way in which it's taught or which it's planned, but otherwise, I mean, yes, it's embedded across the program, and there are options for the Department of Gender which one can take. You basically can take any courses around the school. I mean, we can't guarantee space because they're not managed by us, obviously. But otherwise, our students, I think on average, they do manage to get a space on almost all departments, apart from economics, because you need a requirement for a specific course in order to enter in some courses. Tim, did you want to add something?
No, just to say that we take gender very seriously. We're hiring a new professor in development studies, and there's a good chance we'll hire somebody who works in gender, but we don't know yet.
Thanks. I have an international MBA at social research LSE looking to move our career trajectory in UK government policy. Require further studies rich in theory and application. Leaning towards the MSc development studies to obtain general theoretical knowledge. Well, from what you say, yes, I think that's definitely a good option if you're looking more into general theoretical knowledge. But I think one would need to. I don't want to make your career choices based on one statement in this question. I think it would need more discussion. I mean, one thing you could do is to get in touch with the program directors from development studies, James Pazzo. Also, development studies is giving their own open evening where you can go more in depth into some of these issues on the 20th of November next week. So I would recommend actually going along to that one or getting in touch with Professor Pazzo, who is the current program director for DS. So that probably actually requires much more of an in-depth discussion. Would an applicant be at disadvantage if they took a break between visas? Absolutely not. As I said, we've had absolutely all career paths. Even people doing a PhD in something completely unrelated and then coming back to this, or with a medical degree deciding to come to this. So no, definitely no disadvantage. Again, what I said is that you need to have the right marks, whatever your degree is, and to do a good statement. What is the average age in the program? I haven't got into the tip of my head, but probably in the 20s, 30s. Yeah, probably high 20s, because there is always some kind of outliers, but probably in the 20s.
I'd say it's sponged around mid-20s, but we have people who are older as well.
So it looks like we've come to the end of this because we need to stop right at 4:30. But if you have any questions, get in touch through the email, the infdev@lse.ac.uk, or get in touch with myself, with Tim, or with the specific program directors of the program you're interested in. Please do ask away. We're happy to follow up on conversations. Have a look at the program, have a look at the videos. And what I would suggest is do apply for the program that you're interested in. So that's, I know that it doesn't sound that deep in knowledge, but it's kind of obvious there. Okay, so I'm going to close here, and please do so apply application fee waiver. Yes, there is a link. Look at the finance office website to how to apply for a fee waiver. Sorry, now I really need to close this. And thank you very much for coming, and thank you both Farzana and Sophia for coming as well.